going to do about 3 ladles worth because that's a pretty decent amount. And while I'm at it, I'm going to go ahead and shut that off all the way. Alright, so I want to show you something. I haven't stirred this at all. This is plain yogurt. I just opened it. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this. See how there's a thin layer of kind of a clearish yellow liquid on top? That's called whey, and it's normal for it to separate. It's in the store-bought stuff. Just wanted to show you that because you will probably see that in the stuff that you're making. And it's kind of a chunky stuff here. So I want to mix this a little bit. This has not gone bad. This, you know, it smells perfectly fine. Okay, so this is not an exact science. You can put very little in here. I find that it cultures faster if I put a little bit more, so I'm going to do a couple spoonfuls directly into the warm milk. Just yogurt into warm milk. And you need something like yogurt or another starter. You can buy frozen or refrigerated starters if you want to, but I haven't found that to be necessary. The Dannon plain yogurt seems to work just fine for me. So you just whisk that around until it's nice and smooth and you don't feel any clumps in there with your whisk. And now this milk right here will smell faintly of yogurt. Okay, so then I take this whole thing and pour it directly back into here. It'll raise the water level a little bit, or the milk level I should say. We'll raise that a little bit, simply because you're adding a little bit of yogurt in there. Then whisk that all around so that it's evenly spread through everything that's over here. You want to make sure that you're using sterilized jars and that your lids are nice and clean. Anything that's dirty inside them will culture something bad inside your yogurt, so you do not want to encourage that. Just go ahead and get your jar funnel right there in the top of the lid so it fits perfectly inside that jar. And then just a ladle at a time, fill it up until it's pretty full. You want to be able to see some room at the neck of the jar. You could use, I've seen some people will just put that pot directly into the oven as long as it's okay to go in the oven. Some people will use a cooler to keep it warm. Whatever you do, you're aiming for a consistent temperature of about 105 to 115 degrees, whatever you're doing. See the jar, there's still some bubbles in there, but when those bubbles settle down, I'll be able to see a little space. So now I've got to put the lids back on. While I'm putting the lids on, I'm going to turn my oven on to bake onto the absolute lowest setting that it has. I'm going to do that for 2 minutes. So when that timer beeps, it's time for me to turn the oven off. Timer. Trying to think if there's anything else I'm missing. What you're aiming for in the oven is something that feels like a hot summer's day. You don't want it to be, again, too warm. Too warm will kill the culture. I turned the oven on for one of my 1-hour stops at one point. I turned it on for about 10 minutes rather than 1 minute, and it killed everything that was in there. However, if you accidentally do that and you kill your culture, do not throw the milk away. Set it in the fridge, and you can reculture it on another day. All you've really done is pasteurize the milk and make the fats separate. It'll look weird, it'll smell weird. If you let it cool down, it'll smell just like milk again. It won't smell like yogurt. That's another test that you can do. Okay, so that beeped. Turn those off. And now the oven feels pretty warm. So what we're going to do, I'm going to go ahead and put these in the oven. We don't want the jars to touch each other. So no touching. Try to space them pretty evenly. Do not put them against the sides or the back of the oven. And don't let them be so close that you can close the door. So as you can see, they're in there. They're pretty evenly spaced. And I'm going to turn the light on in here and close the door. Now with this one you can't really see in. but that oven light will kind of help maintain that temperature that's in there. And now all we have to do is wait. So we set a timer for 1 hour. When that hour's up, I'll show you what we do. All right. Okay, so 1 hour later, reach in, it's cooling down. Light's still on. So we're gonna set bake, lowest time, 60 seconds on the timer. And then all we gotta do is wait for that. When that buzzes, we turn it off and set the timer again for 1 more hour. Alright, so it's a little bit after 7:45. It's time to check on it. They feel a little bit warmer than maybe I want, so I'm not going to turn the oven on this time. It's kind of a funny consistency where it's still, when you tip it, it's still real liquidy. And I don't know how well you can see it. It's kind of separating down here at the bottom. But let's open it up and smell it and see how it's doing. Probably looking great right now. Yay! Alright. So yeah, it still smells like yogurt, so I'm not going to stress about it. I'm just not going to turn the oven on this time because it's starting to get a little hotter than I want. So I'm just going to put this back in there and set my timer for another hour. Okay, so my timer's got like 5 minutes left on it, but I'm really tired and I'm going to go to bed. Okay, you can see the whey on top kind of moves, but the stuff underneath it stays pretty solid. It's what you're looking for. Sometimes the whey won't separate off like that, sometimes it will. Just depends. This will thicken up in the refrigerator overnight. Alright. So it's morning. This still has the whey on top, but it's nice and firm underneath. This is good. This one up here is actually a perfect example of what you're looking for. It tips a little, but it tips slower than it normally would. So again, try and leave them alone until you're ready to use them. You can strain the whey off if you want. I would do it 1 jar at a time as you're needing it. Otherwise, I like to stir it all in together and when I'm making smoothies and stuff. So, okay, so now we take the finished product and we put the yogurt in the bottom, some strawberries, bananas, whatever else you like. I like to add a reasonable spoonful of flaxseed as well. Can't taste it in there, it adds a lot of good stuff. And then make yourself a smoothie. Let's see here. And if you've done it well, your smoothie should be nice and soupy. If it's thicker than what you want, just put a little bit of milk in there and thin it out. But usually with the homemade stuff, the smoothies turn out pretty liquid and just need a couple cups and a straw. And yeah, pretty cool stuff. Alright,